So, okay, so this clip is going around. Let's watch it because there's some one-to-one stuff we can talk about.
It's pretty hard to listen to somebody who says, I don't know what I'm talking about, but now I'm going to talk. Or I don't know about this. Or I'm not capable of debating this historian, but I'm going to just tell you what I think.
Do you think Daryl's doing that?
I think there's a whole bunch of guys doing that.
I think
Dave is doing that, very obviously. Dave's a comedian.
Oh, what? So what's interesting is this is kind of a ambushing, in a way, but it's not. I mean, he's making a point. He's saying there's an issue, and they go full defensive.
But he's now mainly talking about Israel.
No, I don't know if I'm mainly talking about Israel.
That's all I see.
I have opinions.
No, I don't want you to say that. No.
Yeah, but that's
That might be what you've seen.
It's
but
just
I don't
you
think that's.
consuming
But that is also your shtick now, isn't it?
Well, what do you mean by that's my shtick?
Well, you're not a geopolitics guy in general, are you?
I don't even know exactly what you're asking.
I'm saying you've decided, being a comedian, you've decided now to become somebody who talks about Israel.
I think you're incorrect. I don't think it's a decision. I just think you have long-form conversations, multiple of them. It's a huge event that's in the news, so it comes up. I know.
Okay, so the gist of this conversation is showing the need for one-to-one representation, for a body of elected representatives. And it's in a way that we don't think of, because most people think of governments, armies, taxes, state-mandated violence and all that. But every single aspect of our lives would be different if we could organize fairly. That's one-to-one representation. It's where Douglas is saying, we have everybody in the world. We got 8 billion people with their own opinion, and everybody's chitter-chattering about everything in the world. But there are actual experts that know what's going on. And he acknowledges there's a problem. The experts have let us down and all this and that. This is the dilemma that is always there. Do you go with experts or do you go with people? I'm saying you allow people to choose. When the experts are giving good information and you trust them, you give them you elect them. It's not really, you're not, in one-to-one, you're not really voting for them. You're giving them the power that you have as a member of the society. So if we were to do this for the US, 250 million adult citizens, CVAP, US CVAP, 250 million people, how would we represent them? Let's say climate change. So we're going to choose, we're going to elect means to choose. That's why it's a lie to say that we have elected representatives in the United States. We don't choose them. I mean, it's not a lie technically. Maybe you shouldn't be sued for it, but it is an overt misleading statement to say that you choose your representatives, that you elect your representatives. You don't choose them. If I said you can have a bologna sandwich or a hot dog for every meal for the rest of your life, no one would conclude, oh, well, I get to choose what I eat. No one would conclude that. That would be overtly misleading. But it's not a lie. You do get to choose. I mean, there's an aspect, a little way you can carve a line and go, oh, technically, I guess it's correct if you look at it this one specific way in 18 different dimensions.
I think if you're on the outside, you'd say, oh, look, they're trying to get attention by talking about this very polarizing issue publicly.
You do get attention from that. Look, these guys are not historians. They're not knowledgeable.
No one's calling Ian Carroll.
No, but then why listen to their views on Churchill?
Daryl is incredibly knowledgeable.
He's not. He's not. He's wild.
Okay, the reason we listen to them is because the algorithm shoves that in our face. It's absolutely what's controlling the situation on social media, which is the freest scenario we have. We have the institutions that have always been institutions. It's not like we would expect the ancient Sumerian priests to just all of a sudden start telling the truth and come clean about everything. They're doing their job. Institutions do their job of brainwashing and propagandizing and supporting their own institution. That's what they do. The problem is not, this goes along with this kind of maxim, the problem is not bad people doing bad things. It's the rest of us unable to come together and express ourselves. That's why one-to-one representation solves that problem. We can come together no matter what. You hate each other, you want to kill each other, doesn't matter. You can come together. We're just measuring the numbers, one-to-one.
He is not the historian of our era.
He's not claiming to be.
This is the thing, Joe. This is like punching jelly.
No, but you don't consume
around
his work.
What I'm saying, because I don't need to consume endless versions of a revisionist history. I understand. I know where this comes from.
Revisionist history. If you listen to his work, it's not revisionist history. He's basing it on historical work.
I know. But okay, so this is my point about jelly. It's a shape-shifting thing. Comedian or historian doesn't claim to be a historian, but he's pumping out tens of hours of
Neither
history.
does Dan Carlin. He doesn't claim to be a historian either.
You see my point about...
So here's the problem. So what Douglas Murray needs to do is accept the reality that people are going to be out there pumping out stuff. Stupid people. Like everything I'm talking about is a world-saving solution. I have genuinely in my heart the desire to actually have the most sustainable utopia possible for everyone, where everyone can get the best situation that we all can have. As much liberty as possible, as much freedom as possible, as much safety and all that. But, there's a priority to those things. But there's a real problem that people, you look around and you're like, oh my God, there are people that just want to hear themselves talk. They want to be popular. They don't care about a solution, right? Let's not, it doesn't always need to go back to Alex Jones, but, he has continued to say the solution is just talking about the problem. And so that's frustrating to me, but that's the reality of the situation. We don't want to suppress those voices. We don't want to even say anything negative. Hey, listen to that if you want. But what I'm saying, the solution for Douglas Murray is allow each person to say who their expert is, and that's it. For that year, you chose your expert. If we're talking climate change, you choose your expert. Each American, 250 million people, they choose their expert. Okay? There you are. You have instant one-to-one representation. So you have experts. They have a number next to their name. That's their RQ for their expertise. As far as the popular support, it's understood. No one's delusional. And we're not saying, oh my God, this guy knows everything. He's got 1 million people that support him on climate change. We all understand this could be a Kim Kardashian scenario. This is just some kind of maybe some Schelling point thing, right? This is just someone who ended up with this or was promoted or evil or, whatever. But that's the reality. Those people are then, boom, they've given up their vote. You see? Now people who have differing points of view can bring up their points. They're experts. Now, all of these experts, they're, elected experts. So it's not even necessarily an expert, elected to be experts, whatever you want to call it. But they could then have their say in their conversation. You can see, oh, this guy is not making sense, or this guy is making sense, and whatever. We've controlled the conversation, which is what he's after. We want to get rid of all of the fringe nonsense. There are people that are just saying things to get likes, to get karma in Reddit, to get whatever in Facebook. There's all of these incentives to get people to be activated, right? The social media companies. So I'm not saying to suppress that. I'm saying to be able, I'm not saying to ignore it. I'm saying be able to ignore it. If we were just able to say, well, actually, you can listen to whatever Facebook likes, who gets the most Facebook likes, all you want. But here's who people have chosen to be their expert in climate change. This is where the real conversation is happening, because actual human adult citizens decided this person is an expert. And that's the point. If you're saying, oh, well, they would choose an idiot, then that idiot needs to get on the stage and we need to talk to that idiot because that guy is who these idiots chose. I mean, this guy's not necessarily an idiot. He's chosen by idiots. This person is who we need to talk to because he represents idiots. The idiots need to see this guy respond and stay with him if that's how it is, or have this guy come back and go, you know what, and stop. Well, he rarely would these people, if you were elected by idiots, you're not going to acknowledge you're wrong because idiots don't appreciate that, So they would typically just ignore what they previously said, which is standard practice for 8,000 years for humans. So they would ignore what they previously said and get on board with the new reality. That's how science works. Everyone's against it until they can't, deny it anymore. Now it's a real thing. And so, I mean, everything, right? Even continental shift, it's continental drift. When you come up with a new reality and a new fact, you're destroying people's livelihoods in many respects. So it's a very serious thing. Anyway, I want to get to the point where Dave talks about how he's pro-democracy all of a sudden.
The move. It's like some weird jujitsu move. I'm still slightly bemused about this move from I'm an expert on this and I have views to I'm a comedian.
I've never claimed to be an expert on anything.
This is the problem, Joe. I mean, if somebody
Wait a minute,
says
you have to claim to be an expert on something to have an opinion on something?
You don't have to be. You don't have to be.
I in no way think that Douglas Murray would agree with me. I think Douglas Murray wants actual experts. And I think that's the delusion. That's the fantasy that's not achievable. You can't say, I want them vetted in this process. That process then becomes corrupted. It becomes the guild of knowledgeable people, 1,000 years from now. It's something you need to allow it to be where people choose it and everyone senses it. And if they lose trust, you lie to people, you're fucked. You're fucked against the wall with one-to-one representation. If you lie to people, like if what the Democrats did in the 20 insurrections and in complete takeover in the 20s, that is something everyone would just immediately get off. If they could choose a different person and they didn't have to, go with the other party, there's not a two-party machine running this show. If they could choose who they wanted to choose, no one would continue to choose a Democrat. It would have been instantaneous. Even, anti-fascists, psychotic, raving lunatics would choose a different person because the Democrats were not doing like anything that the actual Democratic Party wants, the people that are voting Democrat.
So what's the solution? To not talk about it?
No, it's to have more experts around.
Okay, well, there you go. He said his solution, and that's not a viable solution. That's a result. That's like when they pass laws that say a law, city ordinance, you must have this much recycled. Your legislating results is what I would call that. You're legislating results instead of the process or the rules. And this is what happens when you want to make something a certain way. This is the progressive problem. So he's acting as a progressive, how the word should mean. He wants to move forward. He wants to change what exists. But the first thing a progressive thinks about is, I want utopia. I want it to be where the good people are in charge. And, aristocracy is a great first starting point for a young person, but that's an elementary school level thing. Aristocracies don't work. I'm saying it's democracy. I'm saying it's voting. And you can go with every form of nonsense and mob rule and psychotic screaming in the street. This is what democracy looks like. You can see what those people think democracy looks like. A bunch of mad, insane people just hateful, screaming and violently blocking roads and everything, just detaining people with no concern and then calling it peaceful. So, yeah, those forms of democracy are, very unacceptable, right? How about where we have a representative democracy? The best way to do that is going to be one-to-one representation, where each person, each member of the society chooses, they elect their representative. The voting power goes to them. That's it. End of story. 100% measure it all the way down the line. Every time that guy votes, he votes with the power of that person. There's no loss of votes whatsoever. Anyway.
Okay, I agree with that. I just said to you, I agree with that.
I know.
But
So
one of
Douglas,
the problems
during
is,
all of COVID, I will put my track record against any of the expert class on COVID. I'm glad to do that. So should I have just shut up? Should I have shut up by opposing lockdowns and opposing vaccine mandates and talking
that
about
was the
lab
argument
theory?
at the time. You realize
That's the
right?
entire argument that you're making. Let the
No,
experts
I'm not,
handle
I'm
this.
not. No.
You're not an expert.
You're
I was just a comedian.
wildly not listening to what I'm saying.
Everyone knows that's not the way to say it. You're not listening. The person may be listening, and then all you do is destroy your credibility with that person if they are truly trying. I don't think you're hearing me is really the best way to say it. And whenever you're talking about mind reading and you're saying how someone else feels in their mind and their heart and their soul and who they associate with, who they love and hate, whenever it's inside their body, you want to be, I don't know. Is this what's happening? Because you don't know. You can tell when someone is not, or they're at least being uncaring in their communication when they assume things about the other person's statements.
But if your argument is that, like, you're saying, I claim to be an expert, but then I have like a parachute to get out of it by being like, hey, I'm just a comedian who's just saying this. Yeah. But I don't think I've ever like really claimed to be an expert. I
why
have
are you going around? I know, well, but
because I'm interested in these topics.
Yeah, I know, but isn't it weird?
Dave's got a great defense here. I'm not claiming to be an expert. I've never claimed that. I don't have any tag on me that says expert. So Douglas is really not voicing his concern. But also Dave is being super defensive, and Joe is trying to defend his guest. I mean, when you're the host, this is one of the big problems with humanity is we're not worried about ourselves as much as we are someone else, right? That's why when someone, like the white knighting, where we come in and save the day, and if Joe's the host, if it's a party or whatever, and someone is attacking one of his guests, he's got to be defensive to that, so we have to figure that out socially. And
it's a bit weird to be simultaneously saying I'm not an expert on a conflict and talking about it everywhere.
I don't think so. Not really. I mean, I don't know. I don't think I don't see how you
do you talk about these things?
Which things?
All these things that we're talking about.
Some of them, yeah.
Are you an expert?
I am on some, yes.
On some,
but you talk about some that you're not an expert on.
You'll notice that I didn't just.
What should you do if those subjects get breached?
Well, I think that you.
Well, wait a minute. So, yeah, he's never said you shouldn't talk about things. The thing is, these three guys, they got defensive. He's bringing up something. They could have said, well, let's try to find the root problem of what you're saying. But they got defensive. And so then he's defending himself because he's not really saying anything. This happens a lot. I'll just point out a problem, or like I'll say, maybe a solution lies in this area. And then people will start criticizing me and arguing as if I'm saying something. I'm like, wait a minute. I'll end a conversation, an argument with somebody, and I wasn't saying anything of substance. What were they arguing with? Some people are just arguing to argue. Some people are defensive and all these different things.
Educate yourself as much as you can.
Shouldn't you say I'm not an expert and then give your opinion if you're in the middle of a conversation?
I think I think that it's a weird move to say, I'm not an expert on this, but I'm going to talk about it nonstop.
But I just fundamentally disagree with this idea.
Weird. See, all he did was say it's weird, and that's even not even he would even say that's not even a statement of substance. So he's not even saying it's a statement of substance. He's saying it feels weird to me. There's no offense there. He's saying inside my tummy, I get a queasy feeling when I see this happening. Okay, I mean, next, there's nothing of substance being said. And so there's this kind of conversation is kind of about nothing.
That, which I really do think is quite anti-democratic in spirit.
What?
And, elitist. That there's an expert class.
The elitist, anti-democratic man of the year claims that what he uses as an argument that this his opponent is anti-democratic and elitist. So, we can all love a lot of things about Dave Smith, but one thing he is 100% elitist. He does not want the average libertarian making decisions about the Libertarian Party. He wants the Mises Caucus to make those decisions. And the Mises Caucus people are fairly across the board anti-democratic. I know Angela has basically said, no, we don't want a body of elected representatives. He would never respond to anything I've said because he's elitist. He's up at this higher level. But so Dave is anti-democracy, but he constantly goes back to here where he's like, well, that's anti-democratic. And he goes, and quite often he will be on X, he will talk about how, oh, look how you got, what is it? Bamboozled? What do you call it when you get downvoted or ratioed? So he's like, oh, you got ratioed. And so what is ratio? It's literally the worst form of democracy. This is what democracy looks like, crowd. Screaming, and look how many screaming, yelling idiots are in your comment section. What? That is in no way a reflection on what's an actual thing. It's not even a poll. So if you think polls are ridiculous, a random comment section on a social media site is absolutely the most manipulated thing in the universe. The most untrustable, at least. We don't know what manipulation went into it, but we know it's an absolutely untrustable thing because the potential for manipulation. And so, anyway, so that's the meat of it. I don't know what they resolved. They all probably are fine with each other. So 3 great people doing great things. We don't have anything against them. They're good. They're doing good things. Remember, support the people, attack what they say or their beliefs or whatever, but not even the beliefs. I mean, I would say the way to unfascism is to support everything is inside of the human entity. So anything that any human thinks, well, first we start with feels. If he feels a certain way, see, Douglas feels it's weird, unattackable. You support that. If you think it feels weird, it does feel weird. I support your feelings on that 100%. Anything that you think inside your head, any thought you have inside your head, 100% thought, I support all your thoughts. You, the viewer, anything you've ever thought, are thinking now, or will ever think, I 100% support those. The thoughts are not the problem. It's the actions. If you're planning to kill me, it ain't the thought that you're wanting to kill me. It's the fact that you're planning to kill me. Okay, I still have to defend myself, but I'm not going to have a problem with the thoughts in your own head anyway. And then what else is it? Your thoughts, your feelings towards others, who you have love or hate or emotions towards, how you feel towards other people. Those are the 3 things that are the most, not only off limit, but I say that you should support those things. If whoever Dave Smith loves or hates or feels awkward towards, that is 100% the right thing because Dave Smith wants to do that. Now, the only caveat is if Dave comes to us and says, oh my God, I hate these people and I don't want to hate these people. Well, that's a problem. And that's not what we're talking about. It's like it's understood that we support the thoughts they want to have. I mean, if he's having nightmares, torment him, we don't want those thoughts, right? Okay, there's a lot to talk about, but we talked about a lot. So thank you for watching this video, if I even upload it.